Cobblemon is an incredible game, and the developers are updating it very frequently. So in today's video, I'm going to give you the top 10 best Cobblemon tips for 2025. Make sure to stick around to the end of this video, and I promise you'll learn something new that will help you enjoy Cobblemon more in this coming year. For my first tip, one of the most important parts of Cobblemon is trying to catch them all. And in 2025, Cobblemon is going to drop a ton of new Pokemon like Salamence. So my first tip today is going to be how you can easily catch any Pokemon in Cobblemon. And one of the keys to that is building a Nether Hub. Every Pokemon in Cobblemon will spawn in a different biome. Some only spawn in the mountains or near the beach, and traveling between them can take a lot of time. So I always recommend that you build a Nether Hub to connect up every single biome in Cobblemon. Now I know that this is a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. But I promise it's worth it, and it's actually pretty easy to do. Every time in your world you come across a new biome, like a beach biome here, I would build a Nether portal. And then whenever I want to catch an Oshawott or some new Pokemon that spawns on a beach, I can take my Nether portal here to save time. If you already have most of the current Pokemon in Cobblemon, this is a great way to prepare for the new updates in 2025, because if you have a Nether portal that leads you to every single biome, anytime they drop a new Pokemon, you'll quickly be able to go find it and catch it and add it to your team. In 2024, berries have been a fun item in Cobblemon, but they haven't been particularly useful unless you were using them to make vitamins and other things to EV train your Pokemon. But in 2025, with the Cobblemon 1.6 update, that is all going to change. In Cobblemon 1.6, you can use different berries to change what happens when you're fishing in Pokemon. You can use them, from what I understand, to get Pokemon with different EVs, different natures, to attract different Pokemon in general, and all sorts of huge bonuses that'll help you get more powerful Pokemon overall. And I don't think that's going to be the end of it. It seems like the Cobblemon developers really like berries and want to come up with as many uses as possible for them. So in order to prepare, my second tip for you is going to be to go around before the update and try and find every different berry in the world. It'll take some time, but if you go around and explore long enough, you should be able to find every single berry. Then come to your base and set up a massive berry farm so that when 1.6 drops, you will never be lacking in any berry and you can enjoy all of the new features. For tip number 3, it's not confirmed, but the developers have hinted that NPCs are coming in 2025, which means this game is about to get a lot more competitive. We may even see a gym system or some similar storyline introduced into vanilla Cobblemon in 2025. So to help you be prepared for when NPCs drop, my third tip is to farm vitamins in Cobblemon: protein, calcium, iron, zinc, HP up, and Carbos. These items can be used to easily max out the EV stats of a Pokemon. For example, Lucario here has 0 EVs, but if I give him a bunch of Carbos, I can completely max out his EVs and speed. And the process is a little bit complicated, but these items are made from berries. You can find their crafting recipes here on the Cobblemon wiki, and you can actually farm every single ingredient in these. And so essentially you can farm an infinite number of vitamins in Cobblemon. So one of my biggest tips is that you set up a farm to farm as many of these as possible so that when NPCs come out, you'll have an infinite supply of vitamins and you can easily EV train any Pokemon you want to use. Now, setting up the farms to infinitely farm vitamins can be a little bit complicated. So I have an entire dedicated video about that I have linked in the description of this video. You can check that out if you're interested, and I'll go through step by step how you can make these farms. But I would definitely recommend doing it to prepare for the future updates. Tip number 4 also has to do with preparing for NPCs, and that is to create a nature mint farm. Nature mints can be found spawning throughout the world, and they're very easy to farm, and each of these is able to change your Pokemon's nature so that certain stats are boosted while another one is lowered. This one is pretty simple. Once again, I have a dedicated video about it that I'll link in the description if you don't know how to farm nature mints. Once you farm nature mints, if you want to use them, you just put 3 of the nature mint of the stat you want to go up. For example, the red one is attack, then 1 nature mint of the stat you would like to go down. For example, blue is special attack, and that will create a nature mint. So for this combination, you get an adamant mint. Then pick the Pokemon whose nature you would like to change. For me, it's my Gabite, and right-click them. And this will change their nature. Now, it won't show here. It'll just say their normal nature, but if you hover over it, it will say their new nature, as in adamant. But then when you click on their stats, you'll see that his attack goes up and his special attack goes down. But I would definitely recommend doing this if you want to have the most powerful Pokemon possible, so you can take on any NPC in the game. If this video has been helpful so far and you want to be a part of our community, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We are really pushing to 10K subscribers, and we would love to have you as part of the team. Speaking of community, one of my biggest tips for 2025 is to either start a Cobblemon server with friends, or head on over to the Cobblemon Discord, click on server listings, and find a good server for you to join. Cobblemon, Minecraft, and most games in general are a lot more fun with other people. And while NPCs will be coming to the game eventually, they're not here yet, so in the meantime, you can have a lot more fun in the game playing on a server. On a server, you could even become a gym leader and start your own gym and have other people come and challenge you, which would be a lot of fun. One of the coolest updates coming to Cobblemon in 2025 is the Pokedex. So if you want to fill up that Pokedex and catch them all, you're going to need a lot of iron and apricorns. So I would recommend setting up an automatic iron farm in your world. I recently just emptied out this farm, but it was full of iron, and an automatic apricorn farm. These ones right here are both two pretty small ones, but I would recommend, if you really want to catch them all, setting up some pretty hefty apricorn and iron farms so you'll never run out of Pokeballs. If you don't know how to do this, I have dedicated tutorials to this on my channel in my Let's Play series. I'll link them both in the description below, so you can build these in the meantime if you'd like to. Bonus tip, you can also make automatic wool farms from Wooloo and Mareep, which is tons of fun, and I'll link that in the description as well if you're interested. For our next tip, I would recommend stocking up on balls like the Safari Ball, which has a 1.5 times effectiveness outside of battle, as well as other cheap to build balls like the Nest Ball, which is very effective on low-level Pokemon, and the Park Ball, which is very effective in forest or plains biomes. These balls are cheap to make and very effective outside of battle, which means when the Pokedex drops in 2025, you can easily run around catching all the new Pokemon Legends Arceus style and fill up your Pokedex without having to waste time in battle. And it's also just really fun to throw balls at Pokemon while you're running around. You can't tell me that this isn't enjoyable. And you may end up getting some high IV Pokemon while you're at it, but at the very least, it'll be a fun way to help you fill up the Pokedex. Now, I've got one more Pokedex related tip, but it's only for those of you who are really hardcore. And that is, if you're bored and don't know what else to do, try and start creating a living Pokedex in Cobblemon in your PC. So where you can have Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and so on and so forth of every Pokemon you can find. And that way, when the Pokedex drops, you can easily fill it up with most or all of the Pokemon immediately when the update comes out. Now, this next tip revolves around this guy. Breeding will be coming to Cobblemon at some point, hopefully in 2025. And so I highly recommend catching a Ditto with really high IVs. This Ditto right here is a good example of a high-speed IV Ditto. And you want a high IV Ditto because that way when breeding comes out, you can breed it with other Pokemon to get high IV versions of those Pokemon that you can then use against NPCs and gym challenges. I would also hunt good IV versions of other Pokemon as well that you can try and use to, one, breed higher IV Pokemon, but also with NPCs coming to Cobblemon in 2025, you're going to want the best IV Pokemon possible so that you can really compete and do well in this game. Now, my final and greatest tip for Cobblemon in 2025 is for those of you who are like me and are impatient and can't wait for these new updates to drop. There are a ton of awesome updates coming in 2025, but it's going to take some time for them to get here. But there are plenty of side mods already out there that will implement all of these features, from gym leaders to breeding, and even things that may not come to Cobblemon for a while, like running across water on a T-posing Blastoise. So if you want to have these features right now in Cobblemon, check out this video right here where I go over the top 25 Cobblemon side mods and add-ons. A special thank you to all my channel members. I really couldn't do this without you, and your support means the world to me. And if you'd like to become a channel member yourself, click the join button below to see the options.